Hey guys, and welcome back. So tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a question that many parents ask. So oftentimes what I do is I lead out teams of therapists. So many times when I get in, I get the same exact question over and over for parents. And so what I wanted to do is shoot a video about it because I know it's probably a question you're asking too. So that question is, why is my ABA therapist always asking for food? So you probably know already. If not, you can check back at some of the previous videos we've launched, that in ABA, we reinforce behavior that we want to occur more often. So a lot of times that is in the form of a food, an edible reinforcer. So why are we asking for food? Why can't we use something else? That's a really great question. There are two types of reinforcers, primary reinforcers and secondary reinforcers. A primary reinforcer is something that someone doesn't have to learn is good. For kids, that's food and water. For adults, it's food, water, and sex. So for kids, especially kids that are on the spectrum, a lot of times these are going to be the most powerful reinforcers. Now, secondary reinforcers are things that we know or we learn along the way that they're good. That can be a favorite toy. And ultimately, we want it to be social praise. The big goal of what ABA is that we're teaching kids to engage in behaviors that are socially reinforced in their environment. But in the beginning, the behaviors we're asking the kids to do are really hard for them. We may not think it is. We might just be sitting there and holding up a flashcard and saying, what is it? But for a kid that's learning to talk, that can be a really challenging task. So what we want to do is we want to use the most effective reinforcer. A reinforcer is anything that a child wants. So the more that they want something, the more likely they are going to be to engage in a behavior to get it. Food doesn't have to be the only thing that's used. If a child has a really powerful learned or secondary reinforcer, we can use that. Many times the iPad is a really big secondary reinforcer. However, there's two issues. Number one, a lot of times kids with autism don't develop them as quickly as other children. We know that many times children who are on the spectrum, they lack play skills. So if you give them a toy, they may not know what to do with it. The second problem with giving something like a toy to a child is that it has to be then taken back. And unless a child has compliance, unless the child understands they're going to get that item back again, it can create more behavior problems. So oftentimes what a therapist is looking for is a small piece of food that they can give a child that they consume easily, that doesn't have to be taken away. So that really creates an ideal situation because we know that the kids want it, we know it's going to be powerful and reinforcing, and we also know that we're not going to have to worry about what happens if we withdraw it. They're just going to eat it. There are a few things to keep in mind if you do choose to go the route of using food. Number one, it should be small, and it should be something that is easily eaten. The second thing is we have to make sure that it is healthy for the kids. We don't want to be constantly giving them things that are not healthy for them. So the preference should always be using healthy snacks. And like anything else, we should be doing it in moderation. Another thing that you can do is you can save snacks for in-therapy sessions. That also will create a desire for the behavior in more. We call it an EO, or an existing operation, or establishing operation in ABA terms, that we want the children to really want it. We're not asking you to starve your kids or to not feed them, but just withhold their favorite snack and keep it just in the ABA sessions. And that's what really is going to make it most effective, and most likely the children are going to be successful and willing to engage in the behaviors. If you're sitting there and saying, listen, you know what, I hear all that, but no matter what, I'm not okay with using food, that's your choice. What you can do is you can ask the therapist to do a preference assessment. We're going to do a video about what that is in a few weeks, so you can stay tuned. There's many types of preference assessments, and what that can do is figure out if there is a secondary reinforcer that can be used, and you can ask the therapist to teach a secondary reinforcer or to create a secondary reinforcer through something called pairing, which again we'll cover in a few weeks. So those are my tips for tonight. Thank you so much for sending these questions in. I really want to help you. So if you have any questions at all, if there's anything you want to ask me, feel free to reach out. My email is jessica@jessicaleichtweisz.com. I'll do my best to create a video just like tonight to get your questions answered. God bless and make it a great night.